Hi, and welcome to FrazlCast. Climb aboard the GNOME train.
Chugga, 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 chugga.
Please make sure to keep your limbs and experimental instruments inside the train at all times. And now, on with the show.
A podcast by a Blizzard fan gnome about World of Warcraft and geeky stuff. I promise you, they do talk about the World of Warcraft. They just go off the rails sometimes.
Yes, and tonight we're going to go down off the rails in a way because I am going to be talking with my friend, Dr. E! Hey, how you doing, my friend?
I'm quite good, thanks. Yourself?
Oh, I am doing great. It's a nice Thursday night. Yes. What did I have to think what it was?
Technically Friday morning here, but I'll count it as night.
Okay, yeah, that's right. That's right. You said it was 2 a.m. there.
Yeah, 2 a.m. It's quite nice. I'm looking forward to it.
I'm so glad that you are okay, because like I offered, like I think I offered to you that I can move the time up if you needed to. If I didn't, then I'm sorry, but I always make it like yeah. Hopefully you knew I could have moved it up if you needed me to.
Yeah, I knew, but I figured I'm always up at this time anyway, so I thought, why not?
Okay, good. Because like I've done it like early in the day, so I didn't want you to be like, you could have told me. What the fuck, Frazley? I could be sleeping right now.
I weren't going to be sleeping anyways. The past few nights I've been going to bed around about 6-7 o'clock in the morning. And I've got an important call tomorrow morning anyway, so this is going to help pass the time tonight. So I really appreciate it.
And I bet if Zorch was here, he could get you some delicious coffee.
Oh, that'd be nice. Why isn't he here? That's what I know.
He's not here, but somebody else is here. And Epic Insanity, what time is it?
It's time to go around the table.
Great idea. So what have you been up to recently?
I've recently, moved, house. A little bit drastic in the middle of a pandemic. Like, I went from Wales to Northern Ireland, which for those of you who might be across the pond or not, familiar with UK, geography, I pretty much went across the sea to a different, country that is a different whole landmass.
I saw that on Google Maps because you were talking about it last Thursday when I was in WoW, and I wanted to see, okay, what does that really mean? Because it sounds big, but then I looked, I was like, you said 9, 10 hours, 12 hours?
So generally what it was, if I put all the driving together, it took about 2 hours to drive from, South West Wales to, completely West Wales. And then it was 4.5 hours on the ferry. Then it was another 4 hours all the way to just outside Belfast. So in total, it's a 10-12 hour journey. It was ridiculous. I was up for 40 hours because there's a lot of waiting around as well included.
Yeah. Here in the United States, we can do that a lot, but that's more expected here because we have to go anywhere. You have to go far, but there, I don't think you traveled that far usually, I don't think.
No, the only time I ever did it was when I used to get a coach up to Scotland overnight, which is 12 hours, which is quite a lot. And I can imagine that sounds quite junior considering that that's the journey from the bottom of California to the top of California.
Yeah, I'm glad that the move seems to have gone well, and you actually posted a picture of your sweet new area, and I said the only thing I was thinking about, and you already mentioned it, was I was thinking that chair's got to go, and you're like, yep, that chair's going to go at some point.
Yeah, I've recently put some cushions on it, so it's a little bit more padded and comfortable. Not ideal, but it will do. Anyways, what have you been up to this week?
So this week, one of the stuff that I did was I've been back into Darksiders. I will be honest and say I have played Darksiders only up to the first area where you defeat all the Shadow Lurkers, so not even up to the first Bat Queen boss, but this was the first time I'm actually playing it all the way through, and I gotta say, I love it. It has that arcadey feel, it feels good, and you have strategies for enemies. You upgrade your stuff as you're going along. It feels fucking fun. I mean, it's funny. You're just going through and you're like, okay, I got to use the sword on this enemy over here. Okay, now I got to kind of dodge, and if you fail something, then it feels like you failed. So it's really good. And War, the main character, is voiced by Illidan's voice actor, and I keep forgetting to look up his name, but then you are followed by this Watcher, voiced by Mark Hamill, who's playing his Joker voice. So I feel like Illidan and the Joker are tag teaming in this game.
That would be the ultimate duo ever. Imagine that as an ultimate boss combo. You just have the Joker randomly inserted with Mark Hamill's voice of Illidan. We need this to happen now.
I don't want to fight Illidan though. I want it to be like maybe you're playing as Illidan fighting the Joker. But no, I don't. I like Illidan, and I like all his scars because he is his scars.
Oh God, Illidan, the original edgelord of World of Warcraft.
yes. And speaking of like being edgelords and I don't know if that's quite a transition. I try to segue sometimes, but I've also been playing Among Us with friends, and I had an impromptu game on, I believe, Sunday, and we played it with the DPS crew. Well, Bartholomew found me a really cool bot called Automutus, and what it does is while you're playing, it tracks the names in Discord and the voice chat of who's who, so that way during your tasks, everybody is automatically muted and deafened, but then during discussion, it'll unmute people. But then if it knows during discussion that someone was a ghost, ghosts can then talk during task. And I got to say, that's been fun because sometimes when I died, like, how you doing, ghost? And you're talking about the game, that it adds an extra element of fun to it that like this way you are guaranteed people are not going to like be unmuting themselves because it actually does it on the server level. So unless your admin was automatically unmuting people, it was working really well. And like when people change colors, it tracks them by their username in the game. So as long as they don't change their name, and you can still link it again, like it remembers all the names that people have ever picked. But it's a really good bot, and the great thing is you don't have to have much experience other than like you add it to your Discord server, you invite it in, you run a program to capture your Among Us window, but it does the rest. It puts the region, puts the code in there, and if you change games, it updates it. So it really adds that integration with Discord that I feel Among Us needed.
That sounds really good. I've got a group I play with, and a lot of them talk in the middle of the game, and some of them get annoyed. So I'm going to suggest this to them. I might even suggest it to my guild as well, because there's an officer in my guild. Whenever she dies, she makes a sound, so it's obvious that she's just been killed. And so everyone who's not like the imposter goes on a massive hunt to try and find her body first.
Yes, and I hate being the one being like when people are not muted, you're like, someone's got to mute it. I mean, I don't like reminding people that when they use my wrong pronouns. If I'm not even going to always be good at correcting them on that, am I going to correct people on muting themselves? No, I'm not always the best moderator.
As long as people are having fun and it's not too destructive, I guess some things can slide.
Yeah, but it does make the game a lot more solidified. And I think it is kind of the integration that Discord needed, because like I like when games have some integration with some voice chat, like Phasmophobia and Secret Neighbor. I love how those games use voice effects to the best. Like when the ghost in Phasmophobia goes on a hunt and your radio stops. Oh, that is one of the longest hunt sessions ever. You're like, okay, don't find me. And then when you first establish a radio connection again, you're like, oh, okay.
I'm still yet to play Phasmophobia. I keep hearing a lot of good stuff about it, but for that, I might actually check it out because that sounds actually quite scary.
It is. It's so good, and I just saw today that they're adding a prison level, and I mean they've added an asylum level, a high school level, even the house levels. Oh, but somewhere else that also has ghosts, and we've seen a lot of ghosts recently, and actually somebody who's now a ghost. Frazley, don't say anymore. But I've been playing the pre-patch event, and I've been enjoying it. I have not gotten the bag yet. Have you gotten the bag from it?
No, I've killed it twice. Okay. And I swear I'm the only person in my guild that hasn't got it. I saw people every single time I killed it, so I was like, I've got it. And there's me thinking, I got more of that stupid currency that I've already gotten almost every transmog from.
Okay, yes. Last night I killed Bronjam with somebody in our group, and I believe that was Cardfreck. Cardfreck got the bag, but I did not get the bag. And the show started at 9, and I saw Bronjam and stuff. I was like, no, I got to do this show, so I wasn't able to log into WoW because I'm not going to hold up the show for 2 extra slots on my bag.
Talking of which, the last spawn in EU was 11 minutes ago. Damn.
Oh.
Yeah, it's cool. I can get it at 6 o'clock in the morning. I'll be awake for that. I'm going to get that. But the thing is, as Kat put in chat, the event is actually very kind of lackluster. I don't know about you, but it kind of feels like the event has kind of gone amiss because they've been trying to focus on Shadowlands launch so much. which I can't really complain about because the Shadowlands launch is a lot more important rather than the event / pre-patch.
Yeah, I like getting cosmetics. I'm not as interested this time in getting the transmog because I've gotten them in the last ones, like for BFA and Legion. The broom I wish was a toy. I mean, I do like that it's story. And again, I did the biggest cinematic quest that's in there, and I liked it. In fact, I've uploaded to YouTube my reaction to that cinematic. So I loved that part of it. But yeah, I'd rather them put their big effort into stuff that's going to be here way past these 2 weeks. That stuff that's going to stay here. I want to see a Scourge invasion though. That part I want to see.
I'm yet to see one still, and I've not really seen anyone comment on it, which leads me to think, have they just gated it to next week so it's only 1 week of players moaning about it? Because remember the last time that went in, sadly I weren't a World of Warcraft player back then, but I do know it got pulled because the forums was full of a lot of salt. So maybe they're playing it safe to only have 1 week of it rather than 2 weeks, which would be a little bit too disruptive.
Yeah, I do know that they locked behind war mode, so that way if you didn't want it, you could just turn war mode off and you'd be good. I mean, I could see them locking it to 1 week. I don't know where I stand on this event because I don't want to say like that I don't like it because it was fun going through Ice Crown. It was fun seeing players there. It was fun taking on these bosses. I do like, and I think it was Des said this, I'm glad that they systematized the bosses into a time that you can count on where they are and people are being helpful. And I've seen people have been sharing map pins at the end of the game and being like in chat saying, hey, the next boss is here, click this, it'll add it to your map. So it is fun when the community is together.
I do like it, but the problem is, at that point, is a rare really a rare if you know when it's going to spawn? I suppose if they gave it a new name, like, say, Happy Fun Time Friends Share Everything Together.
Okay, you have a point there. I am with Leo Wild. I like the changes they made for rare spawns, where it spawns and waits a minute or two. That is nice.
I think that is good. Like, I think if something's limited, it's a really good choice. It's a fantastic choice. However, moving forward, I think it would not be as fun because the fun of it is camping something like Soundless in, let's say, Nazjatar, waiting for that spawn. Before you know it, you've wasted 5 hours, and then you're like, oh, wow. And it just gives that excitement thinking, is it going to spawn soon or is it not? Whereas if it's guaranteed, you then just feel like, okay, I'm going to cook dinner now. I'm going to set an alarm and then go back. And that's what I did earlier when I was actually live on stream. I set an alarm for when the bag boss was going to spawn so I could actually just go back and kill it.
Yeah, I think it's definitely, if it was not limited to this event, it is nice having that the bigger rarity. It's disappointing when it doesn't show up. But yeah, I think if rares could at least have this spawning, not the systematized spawning, but at least the spawning of when it spawns, you've got time for people to be like, hey, it's over here. Flying over here, not the Shaw of Anger. Oh, it's gone again. Ah!
I have to say, I do think that's a good idea. The shield around it for, like, say, 1 minute, I think is a good idea. Because I remember back in, like, say, Mr. Pandaria, he had, like, the Siege of Orgrimmar patch, and it was like the time soul. The people were, like, waiting, saying, oh, yeah, this rare's here. However, over the past few expansions, due to the game style of players, it's more so instant gratification. People don't wait. They're thinking, okay, I've got to kill this now. I don't want to wait it. And it takes away the community. Whereas if Blizzard does this, it then strips in more of like the community sense of being able to meet other players who are camping the rares.
Yeah.
Get more chats. And then it's a hard one because I like it and don't like it. There's pluses and negatives to it.
Yeah. And maybe if the rare is more common of a spawn, then you could take it off. I like that they're being innovative with stuff. I like that they're trying new stuff and trying things out that we've been hearing. I mean, it is interesting. I still remember one of the original things that when WoW was being talked about was that you won't be like EverQuest where you're going to go into somewhere and someone's camping the spawn. Everything's going to be all instanced. And for the majority of it is like that. But there are some things like rare mobs and stuff like that don't feel like that. I mean, even in Classic, we had that with like the boss in the Kobold Mine. I remember camping for that one to try to get stuff. So there are certain things that at least we don't have to like go to a dungeon that's not instance and get to the final boss and be like, oh, sorry, you can't get your Jaina because somebody else got it and you got to wait 5 hours for the next Jaina spawn.
Oh, that'd actually annoy me. I was lucky with Jaina. I got my mount on a really bad ult. Died at the start of the fight.
Oh, nice.
I'm happy.
And I do remember, like, in Arcane Line, I had this temple. When the temple launched, everybody was there. I forget what the temple was about, but it was a really cool temple dungeon. But you're in there, and you're getting far down. Somebody's like, "Oh, sorry, I like they kite it all the way out of the dungeon." And you're like, "Everybody, shit, we gotta get out of here," because there's now this like they brought the whole boss in there. The boss did not stop till everybody zoned out of the instance.
I like the sound of that. It sounds exciting just because it's dangerous, but at the same time, you're probably thinking if that boss was to swing at you and kill you, you'd be like, "Oh, for fuck's sake, not again."
It was exciting the first time it happened, but when you're getting closer to that boss with your group, and then you're like, "Oh shit!" Another person decided just to pull it out there instead of dying. Okay, we got to move everybody out, back in again. Yeah, and then once you get back in, somebody else gets to the boss ahead of you, and so then you got to wait around. Yeah, gaming we've come a long way in gaming. The same way that I was talking with you about how, like, I went to Walt Disney World and they talk about how kids in the future would learn remotely. And I was thinking, oh, that would never come up. I mean, it's interesting looking back at the history of technology, and I got to ask you, what is your gaming history? How did you get into gaming?
Oh, okay. So I'm going to put a rough age on someone. I think it's roughly around about 5 years old. My mum got me a Sega Mega Drive. I remember it had Sonic on it. Sonic was my first ever game, just playing through it. I just loved the challenge of actually just mastering it, trying to get through it, the boss mechanics. And I feel Sonic is partially to blame for why I fell in love with World of Warcraft, because everything in World of Warcraft ended up having mechanics which kind of reminded me of my love of Sonic, having to learn the boss movement, learn the best pattern to attack, and then getting that sense of, like, say, rush of achieving it. And that's where it started. And then it went on to the Nintendo 64, where I fell in love with Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, which again is partially important for, like, say, my actual complete love of World of Warcraft, because that brought in the whole fantasy element. Again, more boss mechanics, a lot of rewarding for discovering stuff. And yeah, that's pretty much where it started. Started when I was 5 years old, and then I remember my first ever all-nighter was spent on Street Fighter 2, completing the whole game, and then getting my Sega taken off me for a week because my mum was like, "Have you slept?" I was like, "No."
Did you get your homework done? No, what homework?
What about you? What was your first ever game, out of curiosity, and system?
My first game was actually when my sisters had a NES, and I was allowed. No, it was a SNES, because they had an NES, but I was never played that one. But they played Super Mario World on SNES, and I had no clue what I was doing, but I always loved getting on there and, like, playing it. And actually, I did play a little of the NES too. I remember SNES more because of, like, its colorful graphics and the world and Yoshi. Yeah, I remember that the most, and, like, that game. And then I still remember going with my sister, and we walked into a game store, and she's buying Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. And I'm just like,
oh, that's good.
My sister is fucking cool. She's buying this game that I've heard my friend talk about. I was not as much of a gamer back then, because, like, I wasn't playing the system myself, but I remember sitting on the couch watching my sisters play the games and all that. I had the awesome geeky sisters who did stuff. And I mean, they're all geeks still nowadays. I think one of them still plays games, but, like, and like one's at the Ren fairs and doing stuff like that. Another one does, like, tabletop, and the third one, she's geeky in her own way. I mean, she's amazing with numbers and tech and all that. But yeah, the first time I ever got to actually play stuff was N64. Oh, GoldenEye, Banjo-Kazooie.
My first experience of GoldenEye was around my grandparents. My uncle had the N64 of GoldenEye, and I used to rinse that all the time. And it was so good. Like, just the fact that you could go through the level and you could do the speed runs. GoldenEye is what popularized the speed runs. I'm calling it now. Try and change my mind. Just due to the achievements and unlockables that you could get.
I think that there's so much truth to that, because the design of it and that music too. Yeah. Oh, and the big heads and stuff like that.
Name something more iconic than the airplane mission. I think it was like the third mission. You're going in the airplane and you have to go through it. I'd name something more iconic, or the train. Like
Train, okay. I'm not saying this. Yeah, because Train to me is more iconic than the airplane mission, but they're both iconic in their own ways. Like you're doing well in the train, and all of a sudden, one of those officers opens the door, and you're like, "Oh fuck!" and they kill you. You're like, I was so close.
Oh, one thing I remember is the jungle level, and I think it was Xena, whatever that female was called, who in the film was just like an ultimate like murderer. Going against her, I was absolutely scared as a kid because I saw the film and I thought, oh, I'm gonna get fucked up. I got fucked up a lot, but I still went in.
Yeah, to be honest, I never could actually beat GoldenEye myself. I remember going to someone's house with an N64, and there was a kid there, and he loves playing GoldenEye, so he was like, "Hey, do you need help with that?" So I watched him play the whole thing. You know, it's funny. I'm a streamer and I play games, but a lot of my memories are watching people play games. I mean, it's interesting that I've morphed into what I used to love.
To be fair, the first ever streaming was actually probably a kid coming in with a Game Boy Color and then everyone grouping up around the kid watching them play. That was probably it. And then like I remember it like in primary school it'd be like, oh yeah, I just got this really cool Pokemon. I'd gather around and be like, where'd you get that from? And then it'd be really cool to see him what that kid's done. And then the first kid who got all the gym badges and defeated the Elite Four was like the coolest kid in school at that time.
Yes. Oh yeah.
And how that suddenly changed when you reach secondary school.
Yes. So you've mentioned things that like other games remind you in WoW, but how did you get into the World of Warcraft or Blizzard? Which came first?
World of Warcraft. What came first was me being at like college. My mate knowing that I was into Lord of the Rings, literally telling me about like orcs, humans, and everything. Little did I know, he was just like getting me obsessed with it before I even played it, just so he could get the recruiter friend mount.
Okay.
So he got the recruiter friend mount, and then he quit a month later. And then there's me, years on, thinking, oh, for fuck's sake, I'm addicted now. But yeah, it was just like no other game I've ever played. I've had that whole sense of discovery, and I thought when I loaded in Dunmoreau was actually the whole game. But as soon as I walked through and got into Lochmadon and went to Ironforge, I was like, oh my god, this is massive. I need to explore this whole entire world now.
I was the same way. I started in Dunmoreau, and I was like, oh wow, this is big. Oh, I can go here. Okay, there's what's this tram? Wait, I'm here. What's this forest? Wait, I can go down this way to this Red Ridge, and then hearing like, oh, you haven't even been to the other continent. There's another continent? What?
Yeah, it was just overwhelming as hell, but at the same time, it just went from one thing to another. Then I found out what dungeons were at level 15. As soon as I found out what dungeons were, I was like, wow, this is so cool. It felt like me doing a whole single player experience with a bunch of other people. And then as they got progressively harder and harder and you got to max level and found out what raiding was, I was just like, okay, this is me. I love this. It just became a drug.
Oh yeah. And I mean, huge world. And I loved going with people like through like Dead Mines. That was cool. And that first time you're like, everybody is pulling their weight, trying to do stuff.
On my mobile phone, I actually like when I started to type to friends like I'm feeling dead, because of how much I was talking to my friends on Facebook saying I want to do Dead Mines. Whenever I put DEA, it was just like Dead Mines came up in the middle button for predictive text when the classic was launched.
Nice.
Don't know whether to be proud of that or very, very disappointed in myself.
Well, whenever I'm talking with non-WoW friends and I say WoW, it always makes the final W capitalized for me. And I'm like, so sometimes I just let it go and they're like, what? And I'm like, sorry about that typo. And sometimes I'll type out WoW all lowercase and it automatically autocorrects to uppercase. Like, you mean to say WOW, the World of Warcraft. Because what's better than World of Warcraft and the different things you can do in the game? Like, what would you say is your play style? Like PvP, raiding, mount collecting?
To be fair, it's a mixture. My prime love is raiding. However, on my off time, when I like to wind down from it, I'll do the odd Mythic Plus. However, I'm really into transfer collecting. There's this fantastic add-on called All the Things.
Yes!
Which is fantastic for OCD. I've got it on unique mode, as in like insane completionist. So I've got to collect every single variation. People are like, why are you doing this to yourself? I'm just like, I've got nothing better to do with my life. What am I going to do otherwise?
I love all the things that the extra sound it gets when you get transmog. It doesn't just say you got it. It's like, dun, 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 dun. You're like, oh, I got transmog.
It feels like you're opening a chest in Legend of Zelda.
Yes. The only thing I don't like about it is when you're going after this mount and all the things suddenly you're like, oh, I just got another chess piece.
I know that feeling too much. Dragon Soul, 2 mounts needed. Never dropping. Never. Why not?
Let me guess. Is one of them Experiment 12B?
Yes. The only time I've ever seen that drop, the raid leader in the guild that I was trialing for ninja'd it for themselves. And at that point, I suddenly left the guild because I thought, I don't want to be in a guild like this. That should have been rolled off fairly.
It should have been. Yeah. I won't tell you because also if I do, Cap's going to say, shut the fuck up, Frazley, that I got Experiment 12B a few weeks back. So I'm still missing the final 2 Drakes on.
I'm just going to tell you to shut up now, even though I've got the handmaiden sim mount because Alex Straza, yeah, she's great.
Yes. What would you say is one of your favorite gaming memories in World of Warcraft? Because you mentioned some, but I bet you have something that's like phenomenal.
Oh, probably has to be. I'm going to think, yeah, it's got to be like when I killed Lei Shen, 25 Heroic, which is what Mythic is nowadays. I'd only been playing for like, say, a year and a half at that point, and I just pushed, and I got that, and it was like it was my third cutting edge, but it was the cutting edge that felt the most rewarding because I literally spent like 4 weeks on that boss, 5 nights a week, like 5 hours each night, and it just was so much tension, so much like drama, like highs, lows, laughter, and it all culminated into the kill, and it just felt so rewarding.
Oh yes, and like I remember doing that in Molten Core every night because I was a heal bot in Molten Core, so I know when you finally get that and you're like, oh, finally.
I can imagine it probably felt a lot more exciting back then because there was the unknown likeness of the actual instance, whereas the videos were not up as often. They were up, but it was just more of a thing. If you want to see this, you need to enter yourself. So I can actually imagine how much more rewarding that must have felt.
Oh yeah, and like we did have Alakazam, so people knew the loot, but it was still we want to see this. I can't remember if I actually ever got to see Ragnaros fall. I think we did, but that time in my life is so far in the back. I mean, and plus we've got some new stuff coming. Like we got Shadowlands, and what excites you the most about Shadowlands?
Oh, where do I start? Outside of raids, I could just put raids because that's the thing that's going to excite me the most, but I'm not going to put that as the answer. I'm going to purely put like exploring all the different covenants, the fact that you can't do all of them on one character, going through every single covenant storyline. I've had beta access and I've purposely not gone through any of the covenant storylines because I want the whole story, and I've got a feeling each covenant is going to have a raid attached to it. Each covenant, the zones finish off on a little cliffhanger and you're like, oh wow, so I'm really, really excited to see that.
Yeah, I've not done any of the dungeons even inside of the covenants. I've done the main campaigns on each up before 60, and I grind out 2 more levels to get past. Well, no, even that character's been wiped. So, but yeah, I want to see what other stuff is, and I am at least glad that the story on your alts, you don't have to do the campaign over and over again. If you can choose if you want to.
The only problem I've seen with that is the fact that it seems a little bit buggy, and I've not done for it yet, but I've seen other people do it, and I'm hoping that it does get fixed. And it's good because I think that'd be a really good playstyle, being able to actually get like useful stuff that you can use at max level. Because there's always that mentality when you're leveling to go through the zones as quickly as possible. Whereas if you're actually getting stuff as you're leveling along, you feel like a lot more relaxed. You can immerse yourself a little bit more, and you feel like you're not going to get to max level completely falling behind.
Yeah, I like the idea of taking this slow. Like going back to earlier, I did get one of my characters from 45 to 50, and I was just in crummy time, and I was like, I'm not going to do any of the speed running because I'm just gonna take my time and have fun. Just do the quests and finish it off. And I like that. Like it feels less daunting by having this level squish, and everything feels like even 50 to 60 doesn't really seem that tough. Whereas when we went from 110 to 120, That felt like a long time.
1 to 120 felt like a marathon. Chromie time is probably the best quality of life change they've ever done to the game for sure. If I was a new player getting into this game now, I think I would absolutely love it. Like the fact that you can pick the story you want to go through. Even as an existing player, I've been leveling a Warlock up, going through the Mr. Pandaria storyline slowly, and I know as I get near to max level, I'm going to be freezing my experience just to complete the whole of that storyline.
Yeah.
And I love it. It's just the best nostalgia hit ever.
Yeah, because it doesn't feel like, okay, I got to clear this one and go on. Like, that was one thing before I left ESO to come back to WoW. I loved the one Tamriel where you can go anywhere in the game, and I love that it's here that you can pretty much go anywhere. There's still a few places where you have to like level up a little bit to get to certain zones, but yeah, you've got the freedom. And like I've seen people who are actually enjoying Warlords, who never give themselves permission to enjoy Warlords in 10 levels, and they're just like, oh, this actually is a pretty good story, a pretty good level design, everything.
Here's the thing about Warlords of Draenor, that a lot of people, their memory is really foggy of it. The first month of Warlords of Draenor, before raiding came out, and you realised how barren it was probably one of the best months ever. The questing, the way it naturally flows, the storyline, the whole zones, it was fantastic. However, as soon as it got revealed that after that point you'd then be stuck in your garrison, and then they had a lot of content cut, I feel Warlords of Draenor gets a lot of flack that is not really well deserved.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those, I hate to use the word, but I've used it before here. It does feel like the cash grab. I don't mean to trivialize the game, but there are parts of it you do feel like something happened in development that they put it out there without being finished. And I think you can definitely tell that they've been working to not repeat that. I mean, it's even one reason why they delayed Shadowlands, is they wanted to be like, we don't want this to feel like we're rushing it. We want this to be good, especially in this year we've had all of our working from home, and I'm impressed that they're releasing Shadowlands with all that.
Same here. The issue with it is with BFA, we had BFA not as bad as people think it is. From the second tier, a lot of the issues was fixed, but the BFA launch was bad, and Blizzard knew if they had another launch that was really bad, it was going to really be detrimental. And with Shadowlands, the reason I feel it's delayed is they were being extremely ambitious of it. They were putting in, like, say, a lot of endgame systems to all layer on top of it with balancing. And I think it is impressive they've even got it to the state. The ways they've gone about it to get it released is not the most ideal, but it's a necessary evil for the way they've had to do it, which is generally nerfing stuff to the ground. But I'm going to say this now, Shadowlands, as a casual player, is going to be fantastic.
Yeah, and like I admit I won't know all the high-end stuff because I'm not a high-end player, so I do admit that I'm not going to be as well-versed in some of the upper stuff. I mean, I still struggle to even get essences on my own character in BFA.
Oh dear, the essence grind was fun. And I don't blame you struggling to get some of them. Some of them, I think, for the average player, unless you need them, like, example, the Battleground one, the Arena one, the average player, unless you really, really are passionate about that content, you're not going to do it. And I think that's a great thing where you could choose stuff to do to suit what you need to do. And that's one of the systems from 8.2 that I really wish they do it more. And it looks like they're doing it with the way that the legendary acquisition is going to be done.
Yeah, and like I'm somebody that I WoW's my main game. I still love playing other games, and I'm glad that they're being more open to all that. Because I mean, one thing that I do is I stream WoW. I mean, I stream this podcast and I stream WoW, but I also like streaming other games. And I know that you are a Twitch streamer.
Oh, what gave that away?
I think it's in your Twitter profile and all that. So,
oh, damn! I didn't hide that well. Yeah, I need to be better at that.
I remember somebody told me the best thing if you want to grow as a Twitch streamer, unless you have an absolute reason to, put your Twitch link as your URL, because they said otherwise it's harder to find you. Like when you go live, or like somebody sees that you're a streamer. My Twitch is my main website, and then here on Twitch, I then say here's everywhere else to find me. How did you get into streaming?
So ages ago, back in Mr. Pandaria, I used to raid a hell of a lot. And I had, like, say, friends be like, how did you do this? How do you do this here? So I just went live as a way of being like, oh yeah, this is what I'm doing, so they could watch back. And then I got people watching me, and then I just stopped for a few years. Then a friend, she got into streaming and she was just like, I think it was like, say, 2017. No, it's actually 2018. She said, oh yeah, you'd be really good at streaming. Like, yeah, I think you should do it. So I started doing it. I met a few people, like people who I love. I just like carried on doing it. And I just got in it because I like sharing my passion with people and generally just like feel like I love World of Warcraft. You love World of Warcraft as well. Let's all love World of Warcraft together.
Yeah, and it's amazing. Like when you're playing, sometimes people like they're either playing the game or they're at work. So they want to see you playing it because they're like they can't be there, and it's fun. And as I alluded to earlier, it really does capture that sitting on the couch feel. And like I've always felt like when I'm playing the game, someone's there on the couch. I'm excited for Shadowlands that I'm going to be streaming everything that like I didn't stream it all in BFA. But no, I'm going to be streaming it all this time.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Shadowlands for that reason, to just be able to stream everything. It's just going to be fantastic. Like, the drought of BFA, even with the pre-patch, has been, like, one of the hardest yet. And it's just been so hard to find content. And at the same time, it's so hard to find other games to stream as well. So my schedule's been kind of, like, sporadic. However, it's starting to get a little bit more consistent now that the actual expansion's coming.
Yeah.
And I'm just looking forward to having content that I can dive into and be positive, because the last thing I want is to be streaming and there's me being really negative about it, because that does nothing good for anybody. It just creates a bad environment.
It's why for a little bit I brought WoW down to like 1 day a week, because I was like, I don't want to be streaming something that I'm not excited for, because I love WoW, but I want something that like, we're doing this, we're having fun. And that was fun on Tuesday night when I was doing the pre-patch stuff. It was like, okay, this is cool. We're hanging out, we're enjoying this, we're talking about this stuff, talking about lore. We got to see that cinematic again. That cinematic, to me, that makes pre-patch.
Are you talking about the cinematic where Sylvanas kidnaps everybody?
Oh no, that one was cool.
Or are you talking about the one where Tyrande is just like, Fatel Jasil?
Yep, that one.
That was badass. I'm not gonna lie. Although it raises the question, Tyrande is the biggest multi-classer ever. Priest, like a demon hunter. What the hell?
Plot twist. Well, you don't see it. She's actually a multi-boxer, so she gets banned in the next cinematic.
That's good. Farmbo's tears. How dare she use that IS boxer? That bloody TOS. Oh man, I've got two minds about the multi-boxing thing. I think multi-boxing, I feel like really sorry for them after last week's thing. I know there's a lot of negativity about, like, say, multi-boxing, but there's a lot of multi-boxers who do a lot of good for the community.
There are, and I've actually struggled to have a good thing on that, because like I've seen people who do good, and some who like they don't play with other people, or they might, but like they will get stuff for the raid team. So I'm under like multiple minds on multi-boxing. I've never done it. I'm afraid to run more than one copy of WoW on my computer.
Yeah, I would be afraid. Like, it does take up a lot of hardware. Like, you do need really good hardware to do it. But I do understand why there's a lot of animosity against, like, say, the multi-boxers. Because if you see, like, say, 10 druids land down at a node, Herbit, then your node is gone. You'll be like, what the hell? Yeah, at the same time, where they're farming stuff on mass and putting stuff on mass on the auction house, it generally lowers the price. Because the more something there, it lowers it, mean that you're saving gold. Sure, you're not making as much gold yourself, but if you need stuff in the long run, it does do stuff. It's like swings and roundabouts. Like, it's going to be positive that people get stuff. Although part of me's thinking, where the herbs are going to be a lot more expensive, more people are going to end up going out to farm such herbs because they're going to be on such a dire thing. And it's going to create the same issue again. However, it's going to create a hyperinflation. Yeah.
Maybe I'll actually be able to sell some reagents and stuff like that. But also, you have more people there doing stuff.
Yeah, it just creates a whole new length of issues, which it's hard to tell whether it's going to be positive or negative. At the moment, I'm going with, I'm not going to say what it's going to be because it could be either way. And I've got a feeling Blizzard might end up reverting the change because it feels like they only banned it because they thought it's a way to combat bots. However, as recently proved by a lot of people, bots are still running. They use completely different software.
As much as I joked earlier about Tyrande, I do feel bad for those who got affected by it. And that's why I never felt like I was personally affected by multi-boxers. So it's like, I don't know.
And it's okay to have an indifferent opinion on it, because sometimes it's a lot better to have an indifferent opinion than voice an opinion that is generally uneducated. Which is kind of foreshadowing a conversation that we're going to be having in a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh man.
So on streaming, before we get into that discussion, what has been one of the obstacles that you've had to overcome?
I think the biggest obstacle I've had to come is possibly the fact of actually getting a consistent schedule. Various, like with my old household, where it's very, like, say, hectic, and there's a lot of other stuff. I'm not going to go into it because I figured that would just put a down on stuff. That's there, and there's attached to depression as well. Having that, it was really hard to motivate myself. And then there's various other stuff happening, and I think it's just like real life circumstances really, really bringing me down. And it was generally overcoming them. However, after, like, say, looking into self-care of myself, it's becoming a lot easier where I'm telling myself, okay, I don't need to force myself to do it today. I can take a few days breather, and I can do these, like, techniques like meditation, reading books, going for walks, exercising, eating healthy, just simple, small things have helped me. And I think it is one of the hardest things to overcome.
Yeah, self-care is absolutely, like, I was streaming every single day for a long time during quarantine, and I was having fun, but it was taking a toll on me. And like, even tonight when I do FrazlCast, I don't typically anymore stream before FrazlCast because I'm like, I need to give myself just some time to relax, hang on the couch with chocolate, eat some dinner. And like Wednesdays and Saturday evenings, I now take off for, I've got family commitments and work in school that I got to do. And like, I even had streaming, I gave up walking for a bit for streaming, and I was like, I started walking again. So yeah, it's important to be self-care, because somebody said, if you don't take care of yourself, how can you take care of other people? And like, when we're streaming, we are taking care of other people. We're there for people, but if we're not ourselves there, we're not going to give them the best show.
Yeah, and I've had that before. Like, as you probably saw, I did a twit longer, like, a few weeks ago, and that was during my own, like, say, lack of self-care. During my own lack of self-care, I had a lot on me. I started being toxic. I started doing stuff that I weren't really happy about because I was putting a lot of pressure on myself and trying to, like, do stuff and getting influenced badly. However, since taking a step back and actually doing mindfulness stuff, I found that those kind of reactions to feeling bad and stuff, they've just vanished, as it's one of those things that it happens to a hell of a lot of people, but they do act out in that way. And as I found out when I posted that, a lot of people did reach out to me, be like, yeah, I've been in the same position. And I was just like, wow, this is actually really, really, like, yeah, crazy.
Yeah. It's amazing how we can look at a YouTuber, streamer, a podcaster, somebody that's doing something, and like, we can think that, oh, that they've got it all together, but then you're like, oh, maybe they don't. There's a streamer that I don't want to mention their name because very, very different opinions from people on this person, but they put out a YouTube video, I think maybe about a year ago, talking about the drain on themselves by not giving themselves self-care. And it was like, wow.
I think I know who you're talking about. It's that really, really big one.
Yep.
Yeah.
All I want to say.
I understand that they're that person. Yeah, hit and miss with me, but I feel for the most part when they do stuff that's like that, it is really good. And that actually did help influence me when I actually did revisit that video.
Yeah, and it's, I think it's important when you're doing something, and no matter how large your audience is, you need to take care of yourself. You need to find that self-care for yourself, because otherwise you're just gonna burn out or become an edgelord.
Yeah, like when I got really sucked into it and the whole lifestyle of it, towards the end, after I posted the twit longer, I looked at myself from about, say, before I started doing the streaming and stuff, and I was like, wow, the me of 3 years ago, the way I was, if I looked at myself now, I'd absolutely think, what the hell are you doing? What you're doing, you need to sort this out. And now, since that, I feel like, yeah, I'm a much better person. I'm starting to be a lot more free in myself, and I'm liking it. There's a lot of stuff that has helped me get down the road. Like, there's like the like coming out as non-binary. That there was a really big part in me getting better mental health, because for ages I was really confused about how do I represent myself? What am I? And I thought I was always confused. However, as soon as I found that label, I was like, okay. As soon as I found self-acceptance in myself, that's when I was able to start working on my mental health. I was able to start working on like the way that I interact and represent myself, and I feel like it's paid off very greatly, like both online and in offline experiences.
I want to move into that because, so For those who may not know, you and I share a bond that we are both non-binary. And for those who are not familiar with the term non-binary, the Gender Wiki defines non-binary as the following. Non-binary gender, also called NB, describes any gender identity which does not fit the man and woman binary.
I personally think the best way to explain it is it's your own gender. Imagine you're going to build a bear. You're making that bear. You feel like, oh, I want to give it this really cool like sunglasses. You give it the shades and then you think, oh, cool, I want this like a meathead t-shirt with a skull in it. Then you think, you know what, would look really cool. Give it a tutu. And pretty much, that's a bad example, but all it shows is you pretty much create your own gender. It's your own umbrella. And the best way to explain it to people is like, say, I'm just Tom. I'm just me. And I feel it's the best way to be. And it is the most freeing thing ever, because at that point, a lot of stereotypes go away.
It's not so much like we're choosing something that when you put those sunglasses on or that tutu, you're like, this feels good. You realize that at a core, it's who you are. It's who you've been, and that you give yourself permission to be that. Like when I put these dresses on, I feel free, and like I feel pretty, and I actually like myself that I've never liked myself before then.
All I can say is you look absolutely fabulous. And that little pink hat with the feather, that is just the finishing touch. That's like the sprinkles on the cake. I love it. Like, one thing that always warms my heart is just seeing MBs represent themselves. One of the first things I did was join a bunch of non-binary groups on Facebook, and just seeing that, it's just helped me think, oh my god, this is amazing. And I'm just excited for the future, like after this pandemic, when I get a job, to actually start doing stuff to represent myself in the way that I want to. Because if I see something I like, I'll wear it. I don't care if you hate it, just fuck off.
Yeah, because you're like, you're living the self, and like once you realize it, you feel not broken. Like, I put out a video on YouTube, and one thing that I said in there was, I was living in a mask. I was not living my true self. And as a streamer and podcaster, it wasn't fully unlocking all of me. And you want to be your authentic self. And when did you first realize that you were non-binary?
To be fair, it's a very, very like in-depth story. Like, I guess it was always there. I'm going to go back to the start of things, because this is a point that I wanted to make, because I was having a discussion with a friend earlier about how like people should accept it. Like, the first time I ever learnt about the terms was back in like 2015. I heard /m, and the first thing I did was like, I got a little bit outraged, thinking, what the hell, this is destroying the dictionary, as many people have. And then my mate was like, oh, what the hell, he just said it. And then I just went on a few months, and I researched again, went and did the research, and then I was like, oh wait, this does make sense. I literally had a very ignorant reaction. Then via that, I ended up in a relationship with someone who was non-binary at the time. Now they go with the pronouns he/him. Being with them, I learned a lot about it. And then I started referring to stuff gender neutral. I started doing it. Started realising how a lot of stuff was gender neutral. Started questioning like the femininity side of it with my feelings, etc., the way I'd interact. And then I started becoming an advocate for like, say, general, like, say, gender neutral, because I figured... yeah, gender neutralism destroys stereotypes. It's a lot more freeing, because there's a lot of mental health issues attached to like being the perfect man, being the perfect woman, and there's stuff that society holds up.
Yeah.
And I'd always been questioning every so often. And then it got to one night, I was listening to this song that I linked to you last night, Congratulations. And at that point I was listening to it, and I was just like, yeah, what the fuck? Yeah, it's about time I start being the real me. This actually really does it. And I've realised that me advocating for all this stuff, being an ally, was actually me generally just hiding from it, and it just suddenly made sense. And I watched a few videos, and I was just like, yes.
Would you say that there was a part of you that like, that when you saw somebody that might have been either living outside of what you thought was the norm or something, or living a way that you wanted to, but you felt like you were trapped in who you are, was there ever like a sense of like you wanted that?
Yeah, it instantly just started feeling very free, and it started feeling like I just unlocked so much potential. And it just was so liberating, in the sense that I knew that it'd be great. It's really hard. I've prepared a lot of things in my mind. Although one thing I want to harp back to, because I mentioned it in my like discovery of it ages ago, is the fact that I was very like, say, ignorant towards the terminology and stuff at first.
Yeah.
I figured that there, I think it shows a massive thing, that even those people who are not accepting at the moment, there is always hope that via education, and like people being patient, sure, it's hurtful and stuff, it's going to be hard. There's always hope that if someone like me who is very ignorant then realizes, like, say 5 years on, that they represent that way, it's a hell of a U-turn.
Oh, absolutely. I would say about myself, I did not understand it years ago. And like, if I were to talk to my teen self would be like, what? If my teen self was honest with themselves, I don't want to refer to myself. I don't want to refer to my old self as he anymore, because they're me now. But like, if they were honest with themselves, they would see, oh yeah, I can see, I can see truth.
How old are you, Frazzle?
I am now 30, so it took me till 30 to realize that I was non-binary.
Yeah, so pretty much you're like a year and a half older than me, roughly, or a year and a few months, or whatever. Back when we were teenagers, that stuff wasn't really regularly available. Like, transgenderism was a thing. However, the actual non-binary blanket was a term that I guess was probably known, but in smaller circles. And as social media evolved, it then got done. And there is actually research stating that this general terminology has actually been around for ages. Just, it's never been really well accessible, purely probably because of religious reasons, people scared of the unknown. It could be a whole world. And as soon as online came up, it's fascinating. Like, I know there's something like, probably going to get the number wrong, like something like 114 genders, maybe more, because it's just crazy how different ways people can actually represent themselves, and no one person represents themselves, or their understanding of it is the same. And I think that is special. It's magic.
Oh, it is. It's amazing that people can live and express themselves in the way. Because like I'm learning about some of my friends who living out different gender identities, and they're like, okay, I want to learn more about that, because I want to learn why they identify that way. And it's been eye opening to be like, okay, that's cool. I mean, like, I want to be an ally for people that I may not be living their identity, but I want to be an ally for them to let them live it. And the internet really did open up a lot of room for stuff. I mean, the fact that at our fingertips, we can go to the things. The fact that there's now the gender wiki and stuff like that. There's a lot of things that we have access to nowadays that you might have felt weird going into the library to be like, librarian, I need to look up this book on transgender, non-binary, and you would have gotten that social pressure. Whereas now you can look it up and you're like, and no one's going to look at you other than Google who's watching you.
Google doesn't really give a fuck. There's people who search really messed up porn categories. Just remember that when you Google trans stuff, alright? Okay, but one thing I want to say, which is really important, which is something that I was like questioning at first, was the fact that, well, I'm not really androgynous. I am very like mask presenting. I was thinking, am I valid? And that's a thing that comes through a lot. And it was from meeting a friend telling me that, look, you're just as valid. You can be this. If you feel this way, you're valid. So if you do have those thoughts in your mind and you're questioning it and you feel it, do not be afraid. Just feel free if you feel that way. Because you do not need to pass to be valid.
No.
At all. And feeling like you need to pass to be valid is a thing that technically has, like, say, inherent transphobic values behind it. Not necessarily you being transphobic, it's more like societies and pressures thinking, oh, this person here, they're saying they're a woman, but they only dress up as a woman, so and so, obviously they're not a woman. Nope. At sometimes there's them genders where people feel like a woman sometimes, or they feel like a man other times, and it's just really complex. Do not ever feel invalid at all because society's pressures and what other people say. You deep down know what you are, and as long as you deep down know what you are, that's all that matters.
Yeah, like as I tell people, I don't know. I go by they, them because it's the one that feels the most to me. I may have a very feminine appearance at times, like with my hair or what I'm wearing, but they, them is the one that it fits me the most right now. And I may find later on that I am more she, her at some point, but I don't know. And yeah, it's discovering yourself, and it's giving yourself permission to be that, which is why I feel non-binary. It's either a destination or it's a where I'm at right now.
I think non-binary is more so that little train stop along the way that you stop off and you explore. And it's like that thing where you just dip your feet into, like, say, the shallow end and learn how to swim. And I think it is fantastic. It is just one of the most freeing things ever. What I love is there's people who are learning about this term at the age of like 60. They're like, yeah, that's me. And I'm like, yes, you go, you golden oldie. You represent yourself that way. It is just the most beautiful thing ever. And it absolutely warms my heart. People being themselves is just pure.
I've got a friend who his father finally learned the term gender fluid, and the father was like, that's me. And the father's been enjoying the self discovery. And I don't know how old his father is, but it's just cool to be like, wow, I love that.
I think it's amazing. Like, I think it just goes to show, as I said earlier, there's going to be people who are ignorant, but as soon as you sit down and you talk to them, they might understand it. And as soon as they understand it, they're thinking, what the hell? That's me. I just have hope. Like, I don't think it's this generation. I don't think it's the generation after, but I think it's the generation after the next one, where I think this stuff is going to be normalized. And it's because of people like us and people in the community who are literally pushing for it. That's going to help this be normalized. The more people I talk to every single day who are accepting of it is just fantastic.
Yeah. And one thing that I bet you've got this, because I've definitely got this. We're not saying everybody needs to be non-binary or trans.
No.
Not at all.
No.
The thing that we are trying to show is not everybody fits that binary. Not everybody is. And that's why like people that are born one way may not be that same sex and that same gender.
Talking of that, it's one thing that I want to say, like where you said, like, not everyone is that, and we don't want everyone to be that. There's a thing that a lot of cis people misunderstand, and they feel like us pushing for our rights is going to invalidate them. At the end of the day, it's not invalidating them. Like, you're just as valid, no matter how you represent. Absolutely. You're as valid. It's kind of similar to, like, say, the Black Lives Matter movement. When you say, like, say, trans life matters, when you say Black Lives Matters, it was a post that I saw earlier this year, which is the best way to explain it. Like, let's say, imagine that you're living on your street, a house is on fire. You see that house is on fire, only that house is on fire, and then someone says, all houses matter. No, all houses don't matter. That house is on fire right now, and we need to pay attention to that house, and we need to help that house be stable and rebuild it up. And that's what it means when someone says trans lives matter and, like, say, Black Lives Matter. It's not invalidating anybody. We're just trying to, like, say, get the acceptance. We're trying to make it be so that everyone can work in unity. Like, I dream of a day where you don't need to come out, and everyone's just like, oh wow, Johnny here. Johnny's dating, like, Stephen, and everyone doesn't think bat an eyelid. There should not be coming out posts. There should not be coming out of things. You should just be able to put your pronouns in your bio. And it should just still be normalized. And I'd love a day like that.
Because some people may not realize the risk and the vulnerability that comes when you realize your truth. Because Cap said, be whatever you want to be. Just don't be a dick and shit on others who embrace their truth. And that's absolutely true. Be your truth. And you and I, Dr. E, we had something that when we embraced our truth, the reception was not always great when we were announcing our truth. At least that's my experience. My reception was not always great. And I've talked with different people about some of the stuff, and I don't want to arrow that laundry out here, because no, But what's been your reception?
So when I had my reception on Twitter, it was really, really positive. Twitter was fantastic.
Same.
There was the odd person who was just like, I don't understand it, but you be you. And I was like thinking, that's brilliant. That's what I asked for. I don't ask you to be dick. However, there was someone I was seeing, told her about it, and she was like, I don't like these labels. I don't like this stuff here. And I tried explaining how that is transphobic and stuff. And then she was just like getting really angry and stuff. So I just decided to drop her, because I thought that negativity is not needed. However, where I'm now living with my cousin, I came out to my cousin a few weeks ago. And I started saying to him, I'm still using he/him pronouns around it, because I don't really want to polarize people. And he just said to me, like, just go full fucking whack. Fuck people. Like, seriously. And the other day he was filling out a form for emergency contacts. And he said, oh yeah, by the way, I put your gender, your thing for like Mr. Mrs. stuff as NA. And I was thinking, that's brilliant. So I was like, I just want to put the truth. I said, no, feel free to put he/him if you want. And he just put the truth, because if he could, it's good. And I think the fact that a family member who I'm living with is actually like supporting the way it is, and literally not like being bad about it and saying, no, don't look after other people. Just focus on yourself. If you want to be they/them, you be they/them. Although I still do refer to myself as he/him sometimes because it's old habits. Like I even misgender myself, and because I misgender myself, I'm not going to jump down other people's throats. Mistakes happen.
Oh, absolutely. And I misgender myself. And yeah, somebody had said that they never wanted to use pronouns because they didn't want to be labeled a terrible person. And I said, if you get my gender wrong, I may remind you here and there, but I'm not going to think of you as a terrible person unless you intentionally decide that you aren't even going to want to try. Then I'm like, okay, because that shows to me a lack of respect. The fact that I understand if you're learning, I understand if you're struggling, because I mean, I'm struggling. I misgender people, and I'm always I misgender myself. I'm trying to fix it. But if you're going to intentionally use the wrong pronoun on me on purpose with intent, that's where it becomes very malicious.
Yes. I've got one bit of advice for people who misgender people by accident. If you want to correct it, the best thing to do is an exercise that people do in all types of things. You make sure to use the correct pronoun, like say 4 or 5 times in private. And if you do misgender the person, like say I accidentally called you him/he, in this conversation, the first thing I'd be like, oh, sorry, I mean they. If you acknowledge it and you correct it, the person, it's going to be sad for the person, but the thing is, it shows that you're an ally. And I think people who are pure at heart of, like, say, understanding, they do understand how the misgendering can happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just as there are people who purposely do, like, say, misgender, there comes a thing on the flip side where there's people who are really, really militant with, like, people misgendering, and are not really, like, calm, but I understand why they are militant on it, because if you've been facing misgendering so long, there will be a switch that flicks. But at the same time, I think the best thing is to just be calm, educate, because as soon as you start, like, being militant and you start lashing out, the chances of society being a lot more accepting becomes a lot lesser. However, there are certain circumstances where lashing out is appropriate if the person misgendering you is being malicious about it. But if the person's doing it by accident, and you know it's by accident, there's no heartfelt feelings, comfort the person later and be like, look, my pronouns are this here. And depending on how the person reacts, that's how you should do it. But at the same time, I do understand why people are militant about it.
Yeah, there are people out there that intentionally will do it, or like I saw somebody online being like, my pronouns, and they listed off a bunch of things, and you know that they are making fun of the pronouns, and it's like, yeah, it's a fine line, and I give people so much grace, because it's like, we're all learning. This is new to me. I mean, I spent 30 years not really knowing all this stuff. I had been looking at it over the years. I never fully embraced it, so I get it if it's tough, because it's tough on me. I mean, there's some days I'm like, look at myself in the mirror, like, I like myself. It's not who I was, but it was deep down, but it's still sometimes a difference for me. Like, I do think one of, like, the best things that ever happened to me, like, this week, I was just staring myself in the mirror and like look at my hair coming in, and I'm like, I like that. And again, I felt beautiful and pretty, and I felt more me. What would you say has been one of the best things to happen to you since you came out?
I was on a date with someone who was an ally, and she said that I was really pretty, so I decided to call her handsome back, and yeah, it was fun.
Aww.
Yeah, sadly, I'm not going to be able to go on a date with that person again because of the move, but oh well, it was a very good experience. It was a fun night that I really do look back on fondly.
Yeah.
And it was fun because it just showed that, yeah, a guy can be called pretty, a girl can be called handsome. Like, obviously I said guy, but that's because I'm mask presenting. People who present mask can be pretty, they can be cute, etc. There's a whole lot of negativity which comes down to toxic masculinity. And I feel toxic masculinity has a whole part of, hence why I do identify this way, because of like society's pressures. I don't know about you, like, what is it that made you really realise that you presented, like, well, these pronouns that represented you?
Last October, which is now October of 19, because we're now in November. This year just has gone on so long, but it feels like it's not. It feels like it's still March. But last October, I put on my Powerpuff Girls Bubbles dress, and I was like, I realized I've not loved dressing as a man and all that. I mean, and I was like, I feel good in these dresses, and I like how I look and all that. And it was when I kind of realized that I got the freedom to dress the way that I like. And like, I tried the facial hair, but then I shaved it off, and I like that look. And then I like the hair growing. I like on myself the longer hair, because I don't want to say that it's feminine, because you don't have to have long hair at all to be a woman. I mean, but I definitely like some of the more feminine qualities that society typically places on that.
Yeah, I completely understand. Like, in the past, I've had long hair myself, and I did like it because, yeah, it did allow me to represent my, like, say, feminine side in a way. Also, it was a cheaper hairdressing bill. don't have to get your haircut as often. Life hack, you know.
Like, I never felt like I had permission to have long hair before, because even now, when people see my longer hair, especially maybe in like my real life, they're like, "Oh, you're getting the longer hair." I mean, it's at least where I'm in, it's not as well known, and that's weird. I mean, I can't fix any of that, but it's. I was watching the movie Somebody to Love about Freddie Mercury, and Freddie Mercury was very flamboyant and all that. I always wanted that. Like, I wanted to dress like that. I remember at my dance studio, I wanted to wear the long shawls and stuff like that. I even always joke about wearing the dresses. And they're like, "Oh, you don't want to joke about that because you don't want people to question your sexuality." And back then, I just went with it because I was always told, okay, then I guess men don't wear dresses and stuff like that. I mean,
bloody hell, drag artists all around the world right now are revolting at that.
I know. I've been seeing some amazing drag queens, and I'm like, oh, they look amazing.
You know what? Some drag queens look better looking than most of my exes, and that's saying a lot.
Oh yes.
And some of my exes are really, really like beautiful as hell. But some drag queens, the amount of effort they put into their presentation, the amount, like, I just think it's fantastic, and they just have a hell of a time, man. I just love that energy they radiate.
Oh, I know. And again, they look fabulous, and they like how they look. And I'm like, I love that. What would you tell your younger self about who you are now?
I would tell them that this whole confusion that you're having, this worry about being accepted by people, do not try too hard to be accepted by people, because there'll come a day that you'll realise who you are, and you'll realise that who you are necessarily to find happiness is not trying to seek what other people expect of you. Just trot along and you'll discover it. I wouldn't want to give my younger self the answers, because my younger self, and even myself now, is a tiny bit stubborn sometimes. So I'd just say, like, look, it's just going to come right now. You just need to just self-explore yourself, and you'll find it. One day you'll understand it. And even then, the answer's not going to be there. You're just going to constantly be growing and into what you are.
I guess I would tell mine, be a little bit more open-minded. If you feel broken, there's a reason why you feel broken, and you will realize it when you're 30. But again, be more open-minded, be more loving, be more understanding of other perspectives and other people's lives. Don't think you have all the answers.
Yeah, that's kind of the same as what I sound like stubbornness. Like, one thing I've always been in my life, I've always been accepting of other people. If someone's like being something, I've always been like, that's awesome, you be you. I've always been very, like, say, accepting, and it's one thing that I feel I've always had. Just about myself, I've never really been accepted until recently, and I feel it's important that whatever journey people have gone on, it's important to go down, because it's that road that has allowed the person to get there. It's incredibly, like, good, because let's say you changed one thing, that could then set up a spiral to the other thing. I'm getting into, like, proper time travel stuff now, when this is not supposed to be a deep question, but part of me thinks I like where I am now, and I think, yeah, let's just stick with it. That's fantastic. I love being where I am now. Like, sure, I went through a lot of hardships, but would I be living in a conservatory right now talking to MX Frazzle whilst
Yes.
like having a great opportunity ahead of me? No, like, I would not change this for the world, and I'm happy. I just want to tell myself, hold it out. It's all going to be all right.
You know, you make a good point, because I've always thought about, like, I didn't get into streaming soon enough. I didn't get into podcasting soon enough. I would not have been Frazley till 2016. So it's interesting looking at that. And, like, Frazley is the name that I'm going to be legally changing to at some point in the future. So it's interesting that that like as I'm changing, I'm also who I am is still going with me. I'm just being more open with the things that make me happy and make me things that make me feel confident. Because like one of my biggest things that's affected me is I feel way more confident about myself now. That has definitely come through in my streaming. It's definitely been like people notice that I'm more confident and more happy because I feel it. As I said in the video, I've got days of doubt and I'm going to have days of doubt again, but I feel overall, I love it. It's always fun now getting on stream, being like, okay, here's the dress I have now and all that. That's the fun part is not wearing, okay, for me, the same t-shirt or like the same muted colors. I can be vibrant. I can be colorful when I'm playing Ooblets. I can be, oh, look at that. I love all the cute things. Like we got some more gummy currency. I can enjoy that stuff and not feel like by enjoying that, am I not being man enough? On all this stuff, the toxic masculinity, to you who's listening, I would encourage you to look up the documentary, The Mask We Live In. I've known men and women who have both seen it, and everybody at some point can see a part of their life that they're forced into a box by society to live this way. But there's a part of you that it's like, are you truly happy?
Yeah, I completely understand that. I've not seen that. I remember you recommended it to me, so I definitely need to put it in my list. And it's where you say about the box, it's even decided before we're born. Like, there's the gender scan, there's the gender reveal party, your bedroom's painted a certain way, your parents buy you certain toys. You start to play with female toys and your parents are like, no, do not play with that, that's female toys. And then you're just like, why not? Toys are toys. And as a child, the basic thing, a child's mind is really pure and understanding, and the child's mind is pretty much morphed off the situations that it's put in as a kid via the parents, and the parents control it. But at the base mind, if children didn't have the hypocrisy from, like, say, the parents going on, I bet you any money, children would be more accepting, and they'd be like, oh wow, you feel this way, that's great. Because at the root heart of children, all they want to watch, all they want to do is play Fortnite, eat ice cream, and love everything. There's not a hateful body. Children are not born racist. Children are not born transphobic, homophobic, or anything. They are molded into that stuff by their parents.
Oh, absolutely. I still remember sitting in school, and I had my knees crossed, and I remember a teacher walks in, moves my knee down, says, "Only girls cross their legs," and I'm like, I want to say to her, but I want to bloody cross my legs. Let me cross my legs. And I like what Dust Off Gaming said in chat. I really, really hate gender expectations, especially because I typically fall into the stereotypical male behaviors, but I'm a woman. And it's these things that we're expected to live into. And I think everybody should be free, no matter what gender you are, to be the you that you are. I don't like the term choice, because none of us choose what we like. It's who we are.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. And as Dust Off Gaming said, that is so 100% true. Like, part of the reason why I do represent myself under the they/them non-binary banner is because of the stereotypical, like, say, male stuff that is generally needed. Like the fact that I should be a handyman, the fact that I should be the alpha, the fact that I should be, like, going out drinking, the fact that I should be, like, fighting, stuff like that. The fact that it's not okay to cry. Like, one of my earliest memories of a kid was when I was crying. My stepdad saying, "Do not cry, guys, do not cry," and that just went with me for so long. And I just, like, had it for so long, just didn't. And then one day I just let it all out, and then I was just like, okay, this feels good, this is healthy. And it's stuff like that, toxic masculinity, which is just so subtly masked into society that you just don't realize it. And the whole stuff has negative impacts on you as an adult. And until you learn it and you have the correct people surrounding you, you just feel to yourself, oh, I'm not broken, I'm just human. And I feel that's all non-binary is. Non-binary is just being human. And there's nothing more to it. There's nothing magic to it. There's nothing, like, bad to it. It's just humans representing themselves how they feel comfortable. And if you're against that and you actively go against it, there's one thing I'll say, you're an arsehole.
Yeah, because again, you don't have to be non-binary, but let people who are non-binary live the life that they want to live.
Yeah, like, I'm not going to stop you being straight.
No, I'm ace, and it's like, I don't feel attraction to anybody, but are there days it would be easier to be attracted to somebody? Sure, there would be, but it's not who I am. Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is, attraction works in so many different ways. Like, I was talking to someone last night via a dating app, and she was literally saying how she feels like she's asexual, and I just asked about it. I asked questions like, yeah, this here. I said, if you're unsure, find someone that you feel comfortable with and just go for it. And if you need to stop, make sure that person's comfortable. And if you never get to that point, it's okay, because not having sex, not having that kind of attraction to people doesn't make you any less valid. Some people just don't want to do that.
For you, whether it's streaming or your identity, I know Imposter Syndrome hits me hard every day. How do you get past that voice in your head?
I just tell it to fuck off. As simple as it is, I tell it to fuck off, and I tell myself, hey, look, you feel happy presenting this way. Stop questioning it. You've been questioning this for ages, and as soon as you accept it, you're happy. And it happens every so often. Like, as soon as I moved here, and like, I did have it, like, say, yesterday, I was like saying, am I really this? Because I thought, what if it was just connected to me being depressed and in a bad environment? As I was thinking, I'm happy now. And then I thought, no, that's just me trying to validate myself. And I realised, oh yeah, it is me, because I just listened to music, I watched a few videos and researched, and I thought, oh yeah, this is really, really cool. And yeah, imposter syndrome happens. It happens all the time. And there's a friend I got who's a trans man. I don't think they'd mind me sharing this story, because when I first came out and spoke to him, he went for the actual like appointment to go on T, and he was saying to me how up until the point he was like thinking, what if this is wrong? What if this is it? And then as soon as the doctor asked, the doctor said to him, like, well, if you weren't serious, would have you really gone through, like, say, months and months of actually going through to get this and fighting for stuff and actively going your way for it? Would you be doing it to get these tablets if you weren't, like, serious about it? And that's one thing that's stuck with me. As long as I'm fighting for it, as long as I do it, yeah, it's okay to have the imposter syndrome. It's going to happen because society around you is constantly going to be attacking you, thinking you're not valid because you're not androgynous, you're not representing this way. And it's natural to feel that way, but just know that, yeah, where you fight for your stuff, the fact I'm appearing on this podcast, actively talking about my identity, really does go to show that, yeah, if I do feel imposter syndrome, tell it to fuck off. How about yourself, Fraz?
It's the same. That like I was afraid of bringing this stuff up on like the podcast and streams, because I was like, it's a gaming podcast, but I'm like, no, our identities for everybody is important, and I want people that are there to understand that that our world is very diverse. Our world's full of amazing people from so many different walks of life, and I remember on the Third Faction show, Brika was talking about how when I mentioned that I was non-binary, Brika was like, "Wow, that I had used this platform to announce that," and I said, "Yeah, I want to be a beacon to show that everybody is valid, everybody matters, and everybody should be loved."
Yeah, I think it's great. And just how you used the Third Faction show to do it, as you know, not many other people know that this is my first time actually speaking about this in depth at great discussion, because I've not done it on my own stream yet. I've hinted at it. I've wanted to avoid it for many reasons, and this here felt like the right place to do it, because I was with someone who is also non-binary, and I feel like in an environment where it's going to be inclusive, I can actually represent myself well. It just feels really good, like just talking about it. Like, I've just had so much fun. And I just like the fact that you said we share a bond. We share a bond because we're both, like, say, non-binary. We both have gone through the same experiences, different, but we've both landed at the same thing, and it's got us here. And I think it's very special because the relatability and stuff is just great. And I just love it so much.
I don't identify as gay or bi or pan, but I want to be an ally to that. The ones that really do need help are women, are the LGBTQIA2+. Those are the ones that do need to have that platform shown that people have really been marginalized. and the fact that way we have the ability to talk about this here and raise this here is that if somebody's questioning their identity right now and they're questioning who they are, don't lock away that stuff. Don't wait till you're older. Investigate that now.
I understand why there can be certain things like there was someone I was talking to the other day, again via a dating app. Yes, I'm using dating apps, it's great. And she was telling me how if you're from like say an area where it's like highly religious, like where I've moved to, it's like very religious. She was saying how she feels like she can't explore bisexuality because she'll get disowned by her parents. And it comes into the thing where people are born into hyper-religious families, and I feel like it's one of those things. As I remember you saying, like you've recently started doing like progressive religion. What advice would you have for people who are like, say, in religious families or in certain environments where they feel like they can't represent themselves because they're worried about being ostracized from their families and stuff? Because whilst it's getting accepted in a widespread, there are still these people in certain situations where it's tied to like very conservative values.
I from my own experience, I don't have approval from most of my family, and I'm loved by most of my family, but I'm only like two of them actually approve of me and who I am. I'm lucky the fact that I've not been asked to leave the house. But that was a huge fear for me about that because I was thinking like, am I going to be asked to leave the house? And I know my family sometimes questions if I'm going to go to hell and all that. And it's like, one, it's not their place to judge that, because I thought they always were teaching that religion is between you and God and all that. So then why are you worried about if I'm going to hell or not? But I would definitely check out the Trevor Project, because they have some amazing resources there, and they talk about things, because there is a very real danger. And I've seen some horrific stories of people that have been kicked out of their house and demeaned by their family for it. And
it's just tragic. Like, if you look at it, the average like cis person, the average like say person who's like straight cis, they never have to go through these experiences. And the thing is, it's understandable because they won't have to go through it and they can't have the empathy for it. And I just wish that people who are like cis identity would have more empathy towards this situation, because it's a massive fear being ostracized from your friendship groups, being not accepted. And there's people who've probably lived their whole entire lives. I remember reading a story a few years ago about a guy who was in the closet his whole entire life until he was like just about to die. Then on his deathbed he said, "Oh yeah, by the way, I'm gay." And that's a very tragic story. Imagine living 90 years of your life not being able to express yourself freely because of, like, say, environments around you, worried that your family's not going to care for you, your family's not going to love you, people are not going to want to be around you. It's just sad.
Yeah, I came out online, which had its own, like, my family was like, "Why didn't you tell us first?" And I was thinking, I was afraid of what you'd say. I mean, and then I knew I had people online who would give me support and I'd be able to work things through. But yeah, they were asking like, "You didn't come to us first?" And I'm like, I was afraid to. That's why I don't want to give advice to somebody to say that it's going to be easy with your family, because I don't know your family. And like, again, I was terrified to come out to my family. I was like, even wearing this dress, I was always afraid, like, is the door going to open? And that, like, now they all know that I wear dresses up here. I still don't wear dresses out in the main area of the house. And even like when I go use the restroom, I put on a shirt so that way I can like rush by and no one sees me. That's the stuff. I just want everybody to be able to be accepted for who they are, and yeah, not live in a fear, not live in a, what are my friends going to think? Am I going to lose friends? Am I going to lose followers? Am I going to lose things for something that I said? Or
it's an everyday issue. Like, there's just so much hate that goes around that the average person just doesn't have. And
no,
it's, sorry to bring this down a dark thing, but I feel this is like a really important thing to bring up. Like, suicide rates are up amongst people in the LGBT, trans community.
Yeah.
Violent crimes and murders are up towards it. And it's just sad, and I feel like it's important to bring this up because it's one of the things, it's all great we're accepting, but there's also people who are struggling who need support.
Yeah.
And there's lots of petitions you can sign. There's lots of charities that you can go and donate to that helps these communities strong and education.
It's one reason why every year I like supporting the Trevor Project, because of the fact that they're not the only organization that does it, but they're a huge organization that's out there providing support. Because to announce that you're gay, that you're bi, that you're pan, that you're ace, that you're trans, that you're non-binary, when you announce that, it changes something, and you're going to get love and support, but you're also going to get hate just by being that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say overall, out of all that, I feel the best. And I think like I'm living my true self, and that's my goal for everybody. Live your true self, live the life that you want. And because Dr. E, I know that you would say you feel way better not feeling broken and knowing who you are.
100% agree with that. I can't disagree in the slightest. Like, just knowing who I am, just knowing what I am is just so fantastic. And it's the most liberating feeling ever.
I gotta say, I agree with Crescent Raven. Queer fashion always brightens my mood. And yeah, me too. I'm in a Discord on the biggest business Discord, and there's a selfie channel, and there's all these amazing people in the LGBT, and they're all just looking fabulous. And I love it. I love it. People that are happy and looking great. I started watching on Instagram. I started adding my Instagram now is full. It's so diverse, and it's becoming more diverse of people that I'm following, and I love it.
Yeah, as I said, when I first found out, I joined a bunch of like non-binary, queer Facebook groups. I started looking at queer Discords and TikToks and stuff like that. I want to get into more Discord, so please share that Discord with me. I want to join that because that'd be just fantastic. It just brightens my day, just seeing MBs represent themselves, seeing the whole comment thread be just full of brightness and happiness, seeing the group grow, and just knowing that you're not alone, knowing that there's other people in the same boat as you is the best thing ever. And the way that the community all builds each other is just fantastic. And if we look at it, like every single movement in life, it all starts somewhere. It starts slow, and then it just starts to build up and up and up and up. And I feel like we've made a big breakthrough over the past, like, say, few years, and the breakthrough is just going to be bigger and bigger and bigger, all thanks to social media.
There'll be a day where, as we were saying earlier, people won't have to come out. You'll just be like, this is who I am, and be like, oh, that's cool. It'll just be accepted, and it'll no longer be outside the norm. Yeah,
100%. One thing I'd love, just absolutely love, like I was saying it to you yesterday in, like, say, Discord, how I went to a gig years ago and saw this band, and they had gender neutral toilets. I would love for there to be gender neutral spaces, just because that inclusivity, that whole thing as well, with the fear of like being judged going into the wrong toilet, how people react. However, if there's a gender neutral toilet, that night all the toilets were gender neutral. No one had a fucking issue. And people are like, oh my god, people are going to do this stuff. No, you're only voicing that concern because that's your own insecurity of what you would do yourself. If you got that insecurity, the average person wouldn't do it. And people, I think, would end up policing it themselves. And it creates a more freeing environment where you just go in and then it's just like, yeah, we're just here to go toilet. Like, let's look at your toilet in your home when you're at a party. That's gender neutral. Why can't the toilet at like a pub or anything be gender neutral? I just think it'd be so much more freeing.
I'm going to put it in the show notes, but 99% Invincible did an episode on a gender neutral bath, and what's cool, this one even went further. They made it an accessible bathroom too, because they said, we're exploring the gender barrier, but let's also explore the accessibility barrier of this. And they came up with a really cool design for a bathroom that's both accessible and even the fears that the people brought up. This bathroom solves that. So yeah, it's about acceptance. It's about respecting of people for who they are.
I just love it. The more people who push for that stuff, the more people who do it, the more general accepted it is. People just need to see that this stuff needs to happen. You experiment with it. If something goes wrong, you go back to the drawing board and you rework it. You iron out the kinks. Like one of those famous sayings, Rome wasn't built in a day. There's a lot of work. Trans people need to work with cis people need to work with trans people, and eventually it will be to build an environment that is more inclusive for everyone, and it will benefit everyone in the long run.
Absolutely. I'm thinking of an amazing future again, where everybody's accepted and everybody's loved. I want to thank you for tonight, because we could go on, and I'll definitely have to have you back on again.
I would love to be on again. Like, I'm just saying it now.
I want to thank you for sharing who you are on here and being vulnerable. Tonight, we both were very vulnerable and in front of Twitch and then in front of people that are going to be listening to this. But it's discussions that are out there. This is a gaming podcast, but gaming transcends the game. Yeah. Gaming is the people who play the game.
Yeah, I didn't even get to go into how gaming has been a big part of, like, say, how people, including myself, have explored the actual, like, other gender via their avatars. And that's a whole different other conversation that could be done a whole other time. And I just want to say thank you for the chat, for allowing me to have this opportunity. Thank you to you for allowing me to have this opportunity. It's been, like, really, really fantastic. Like, I really appreciate you reaching out to me and giving me this chance. Like, thank you very much.
I think gaming brings us together. And I was listening to the Rainbow Arcade's panel on accessibility. They had Steven, who's the head of Able Gamers, and about how, like, gaming needs to be for everybody. There needs to be accessibility. There needs to be representation, but gaming's for everybody. And gaming is the thing that we all can bond around. That's the beautiful thing. Tonight, we all came together around this game from like different journeys in our lives. We came here. You right now that's listening to this, you came here around games. And that's the cool thing, that without this, I may not even know who you are, and you wouldn't know who I am. I love that.
And the thing I love is the games acted as a perfect icebreaker to ease everybody into a very serious topic, as this topic is not easy to go into. Like, as proven, we went to some very harsh places. We went to some very bright places. It's a complicated topic, and I appreciate everyone for, like, say, actually just listening. The fact that no one was hateful at all, everyone was accepting. It's just great that we have an environment where, yeah, you can be inclusive. And I literally applaud you for creating this community, Frazzle. It is not easy, and it's brilliant. You're great.
Where can people find you on the interwebs, my friend?
Okay, so first off, I've got my Twitch, which is going to be a lot more active now I've moved. I can stream whenever I want. Soundproofing, you know, in a fucking greenhouse.
Nice!
No, conservatory. That's that. Dr. Yanja on my Twitter. And then I've got an Instagram, which I don't really use, but I want to use it, so I'm linking it here, where I post mostly about music. So if you're into music and stuff, I rant and rave. These are the best places to find me.
Activating customized Orphan transporter.
This has been another awesome episode of FrazlCast. Take it away, FrazlPants.
Thank you, Scruffy. Well, I am back in home of Ironforge until we one day reclaim Gnomergon.
Wow, I'm a gnome.
So this was a long episode, but it was so good. We talked about a deep subject, and I found out that this week is actually Trans Awareness Week. So it was amazing timing on this. So I'm proud to announce that this show is now on Warcraft for Radio's new 24/7 radio service. You can listen anytime, anywhere to so many amazing Blizzard podcasts. The release time of this show will still be bi-weekly, but the released episodes will air first every other Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time on Warcraft Radio. Then at 4 p.m. Eastern, it will be available on your feeds. The show hasn't changed schedules in a long time, as I've always aimed to be consistent. Along with those changes, I've been working to streamline this show. I've got a time slot on Warcraft Radio, and I've always wanted to respect your time, so I need to make some changes to the show to help keep the show length shorter each episode. 2 hours is the maximum I want to go, but I always actually want to go shorter than that to give you the content that you need, so that way you can fit in more streams of other people, other podcasts, and just even stuff on Netflix. Have you seen some of the amazing stuff on Netflix that they've been adding? If you've not seen The Haunting of Hill House or Haunting of Bly Manor, you've got to see it. But anyway, going forward, I'm going to thank new patrons and subs for the first episode after their first pledge and sub, and then I will thank the Wild Thank You and Holy Cart patrons and my tier 2 and 3 subs. I did not want to do this, but the list was getting pretty long, and I want you to know that your support is always appreciated. Any support that you can give, whether it's financial or not, is very much appreciated. You're helping this show continue each week, and I cannot thank you enough. There will be a day that I hope to be streaming and podcasting full time. So over on Twitch, I want to thank you to my new subs, Bort Malort, and thank you to my tier 2 subs, Cuffy of Charactercraft and Telleroid. If you want to support the show financially, please go to support.gnomepodcast.com. Even if you can't support the show financially, I would like to thank everyone for your support, whether it's chatting, lurking, retweeting, giving feedback, and listening. Thank you for being a part of this labor of love. Well, I'm Frazley, and you can find the show at gnomepodcast.com. There you can get past episodes and find out many of the places where you can subscribe to this show to get on the Gnome Train every time it rolls into station. Well, until next time, be awesome.
FrazlCast is a fan podcast that covers Blizzard games. We are not affiliated with Blizzard Entertainment, Inc. Views expressed by the hosts and guests are their own. Some of the art, music, and sound effects come from Blizzard Games, and they are owned by Blizzard Entertainment, Inc. No copyright infringement is intended. This show is for the community, and it contains contributions from the community. The Gnome Train intro is by Allie of Dungeon Fables and All Things Azeroth. The opening music is by Brandon T. Blaylock. The Gnome Roar is by Jen of Morley Grey Podcast. And the Frazzle Pants bumper at the end is by the Scruffy Druid of Loot Optional and Viral Voice Arts.
This show is brought to you by Dragon Powered Studio. Find more at dragonpoweredstudio.com.
It's been fun. Farewell!